In 1951, the Levitt brothers, William and Alfred, purchased land 72.5 miles east of Allentown and 26.6 miles northeast of Philadelphia. With the success of their segregated Long Island development, Levittown, they were expanding into other states, including Pennsylvania. Levittown was targeting GIs who were eligible for the GI Bill, a program that was denied to over 1.2 million African American vets. Black Americans, most of whom remained in cities that received less and less investment from business and banks, were left out of the post-war housing boom almost entirely. Also, practices such as redlining kept people of color from being shown houses in certain neighborhoods, denied mortgages, and left out of the American dream. The homes were moderately priced and required only a low down payment. Construction of Levittown began in February 1952. When completed in 1958, there were 17,311 homes. In 1957, William, a World War II Army vet, and Daisy, a teacher, and their 3 young children moved into their home on 43 Deep Grain Lane in August 1957.
In August 1957, Levittown, Pennsylvania attracted international attention when violence erupted as William Myers, Jr. and his family moved into the 3-bedroom house at Daffodil and Deep Green Lanes. In almost all respects, the Myers family is close to the Levittown norm. They have 3 small children, the youngest only 1 month old. Myers served for 2.5 years in the Army and was discharged as a staff sergeant. He works as a laboratory technician and is studying for a degree as an electrical engineer. His wife, Daisy, is a college graduate. The Myers home is modestly furnished, and their late model family car was bought on time. They are very close to the Levittown norm, except in one respect. William Myers, Jr. and his family are Negroes in an all-white community.
In 1957, Samuel Snipes was a civil rights attorney and represented the Myers family, fighting against redlining, racism, and a community that was not welcoming.
During the time of the Myers moving into Levittown, I know from stories that he helped them with the settlement on their house. And there was a straw buyer, so there was a white family that sort of interceded and helped the sale go through. My mother was Barbara Taylor Snipes, and in 1957, my younger brother was a newborn. I was a 2-year-old, and that's the time when the mob was happening in front of the Myers house in Levittown. So I'll read this little piece that she wrote about it. One day, a mob gathered intent on damaging the Myers house. Sam held them off by standing between the mob and the house. The mob taunted him, shouting 30 pieces of silver and flipping cigarette butts at him. It was a standoff for about 45 minutes until the sheriff came. I received angry phone calls too. The one I remember most was from a man asking for Sam. When I told him he wasn't home, he said, "When he's finished sleeping with that N-word, he'll be home." I was astounded by the vehemence of that hatred.
Anyone who was involved in equality work, integration work, racial equality work was a communist. So my dad, Sam, was slammed as a communist for doing what, from his religious teaching and his just who he was as a person, he just knew it was the right thing to do. These were people who had every right to live in the neighborhood.
Having seen what he saw in war-torn Europe, he just was not going to be party to intolerance.
The stories I grew up with were that this was just a terrible injustice, what happened, and that the treatment of the family, of the Myers family, was terrible. And I guess I saw my dad as a hero. I saw that role as something that I really looked up to.
Thanks to the bravery of Daisy and the Myers, other families of color were able to move into Levittown. In 1972, someone with a special connection to the African American Museum of Bucks County moved into the Levittown community. Let's hear about their experience.
I moved here in Levittown in 1972, not knowing the difficulties they had here in Levittown. I was just looking for a home with 3 bedrooms. I had 2 boys and 2 girls. So I wanted a bedroom for my girls, and I wanted a bedroom for my boys, and one for my husband and I. What I didn't know was the problems that they were having in Levittown. And my neighbor, Miss Emily, came over and welcomed us to the neighborhood. And she was very concerned about our family. I didn't understand why, because I didn't know the history of Levittown.
What course of action are you going to follow?
I'll do what I can to help to get them out legally and peacefully. And as far as accepting them socially, if that's what you mean, I could never do that.
So one day I'm standing in the doorway and I see Miss Emily. She's walking all around the neighborhood. And I said to my husband, Lonnie, Miss Emily must be selling Avon. He says, why do you say that? I said, because she's going to all the houses in the neighborhood. Later on, I found out she was walking through the neighborhood telling people that an African-American family has moved on the block and do not do anything to harm them.
Bucks County has come a long way, but even today, there's still a lot of work to do. People of color still experience racism in their community. The bravery of the Myers family played a pivotal role in the history of Bucks County. They were pioneers of integration and paved the way for others. The African American Museum of Bucks County depicts stories of our shared ancestry to inspire pride, understanding, and celebrate diversity. We believe in the power of change, ordinary people doing extraordinary things. We continue to have faith in the dream that all are created equal. We are an inclusive community. We share stories that depict our shared ancestry and enriching the lives of our families. The contribution of the Myers and Snipes families represent the best of the untold stories and the hidden figures of